Good evening. How's everyone doing tonight? Tonight I want to cover something else for beginner guitar players to work on. It's not terribly complicated, but can be a little tricky. It will help you gain control of a bunch of techniques as you move on in your playing. What I want to talk about tonight is a simple concept called power chords. Everybody uses them, and especially nowadays they sound great with distortion, and they fill in gaps in music that are really handy. They are not major chords, they are not minor chords. They are simply the root of the chord. You skip the third and you play the fifth, because chords are constructed the first, third, fifth note of the scale typically in your basic triads. And the value, the quality of the chord, minor or major, comes from the third. So if I play like a C major chord, I'm playing C, E, and G. That's it. Any combination of those three notes is C major. Play C minor, I play C, E flat, and G. Definite difference in quality. Now if I skip that third, the second note in the chord, I get a power chord, sounds like this. That's just C and G, and that's not major or minor. It's ambiguous, which is very handy. That's not typically how you play them. I mean, you can play them a number of different ways, but the way I learned it and the way a lot of people use them now in a standard tuning type situation is to use the first finger and the third or fourth finger to play the other note. And I used to use my and I'll talk about to my students about playing songs and stuff. I'll just yell the fret numbers out for the first finger, because the power chord shapes on the bigger strings in standard tuning are all the same. They change names as you move around. So let's start with a simple one that's easy to play for most people. How about a really easy one to play? Super stupid easy. We'll do a one finger power chord, which is a good one to do. We'll play the big fat open string, the E string with no fingers, and we'll put our first finger on the second fret of the A string, and we'll pick both the E string and the A string. Make sure you're in tune too. All right, there you go, like that. It's got a nice kind of mellow sound to it in this version. Change my pickups to get a different sound, but depending on how the amplifier is set, you get all kinds of different sounds that way too. If I did something like this, same chord, but with a little bit more grit to it, and that's a real simple thing to do with amplifiers and stuff now. That's an E power chord. Its root note is E, and its fifth is the second fret of the A string. Now what you can do is just get used to chugging on that. Just play that as like quarter notes. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, to make that a little more fun to play, give it a little more of a rock feel, you can double the amount of notes you play. In a previous lesson, I talked about eighth notes as the upstroke. In this case, we're going to do eighth notes as downstrokes. So we're going to use all downstrokes. We're going to play 8 times per measure. So the ands will also be downstrokes. So I'm going to go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and I can do that same exact thing if I move my finger down a string and my pick down a string. So I go to where my pick is hitting the A string and D string, and my first finger is on the second fret of the D string, forming an A power chord now and doing the same motion. I can once again move it a string and do what's called a D power chord, playing the D string and the second fret of the G string. 3 power chords I can use without too much fuss. One finger doing it all. So I can play something like this. And just go through all of them and keep playing around with that, you know. You could start in the middle. So in the first little sequence there, I did E, A, and then D, and then that one I did the A, the E, the A, and then the D again, the D, the first time. So first time I played the D, but finished with the D. That idea gives you more of a kind of a natural motion that you're going to hear. You could also do A, D, E, A, D, A, E. Or you could do like just A, D, E, like I said, on accident. Go back to A. And call that your little tune. So A, D, E, A. It's like a 3-chord progression that comes back to the first chord, right? So if you play something like that, your song would go something like... So that gives you a little something to practice, and it actually's got kind of a nice sound to it, doesn't it? Of all the combinations we did today, I think that one sounds pretty sweet. So let's call that your practice power chord progression. So A, 5th string and 4th string, first finger on the 2nd fret of the 4th string. D is the same thing, but 1 string down, 4th and 3rd. Then we're going to go back to E, which is the big string, and the 5th string, and finish with A. And these power chords that I just played, super common. You could use those power chords to play a tune like Back in Black to get the basic idea, because it's E, D, 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 A, 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 and then the fill, which we'll do at some other time, all right? But this is just to get you going on power chords. That's a real simple power chord thing you can do. Another thing you're going to see a lot is people will like use another finger and move back and forth on the same string. Like say I'm playing that A power chord. What they do is they'll play... Now it starts the power chord and changes into something else. We won't worry about its name right now, but I'm playing the 2nd fret of the D string in this A power chord, and I'm playing the 4th fret of the D string in this other chord to kind of give it that kind of bluesy walking cowboy sound, I guess. And I can follow that same pattern I did and do a tune that's like that, so I've got a different style. Might take a little more work because it involves the ring finger, okay? And that's a really good one because you're going to want to have control of fingers moving separate of each other, right? So, and you can play them whatever rhythm. I did kind of a staggered, like, staggering kind of like, what do you call it, shuffle rhythm. But you can do it straight 8th notes too with the down picking. So there's a couple ideas like that, all right? One thing to work on moving forward too is these other power chords I wanted to get into, where you can move them around the neck, and these are going to help build bar chords as well. A good one to try is start at the 5th fret on the big string and the 7th fret of the A string, and you can use either your pinky or your ring finger to play that 7th fret of the A string, and It's this. It's an A power chord. It's just a different way to play it. So all the things we did before can work. We're going A here to this E. So that's 5 and 7 on the big string and the A string. You could do it like this or like this, okay? And that can be moved around, and if you move it, it changes its name, all right? So if I move it like one fret this way, it's A sharp or B flat. If I move it another fret, it's B, you know, and if I go this way, I get different letters too. You can also do the same shape on the strings below it, the A and D string. That's still power chord. Go down here, it's still a power chord. If you go down to the third and second string, it's not a power chord anymore. You have to reach out because of the way we tune the guitar. So the gap becomes different. You no longer have one fret between the two fingers. You end up with 2 frets between the fingers. It works there, but then you go back to the small strings and it's this guy again, the power chord shape. It's just how the guitar is tuned, and that's the only 2 strings you're going to have to change the shape on. Otherwise, you can keep it everywhere and move it around. So that's a really cool thing. What I would do with something like that, an idea like that, when I was learning to play, is I would take the power chord and I would walk it up one string, like start on the first fret, play it 4 times or 8 times. 8 times. Walk it up the string. Just doing 1 fret at a time. 5th fret, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th. I'm going to turn around at the 10th. Maybe 11. I'll listen to 12, okay? 12, all right? So I got to 12. Now I want to come back down. I can go straight back down the same string and get used to that, or I could cover some different ground and drop my fingers, maintain the power chord shape, but now play the A and D strings and go back down. 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Just like that. And I'm covering that same shape the whole way through. Now, when you get to 1, the next power chord that would come is that one we worked on in the beginning of the lesson, that power chord that's the open string and the first finger. We don't want to drag our finger down here and hold that power chord shape because it's not doing anything. That's useless. I go like this. I go from here, this guy, to this. Or I can go this guy to this. We use the middle finger, which is more of a real world situation. It works for me a lot to do it that way, but you might just, it depends how I feel or what, I just let it happen. You know, I try not to think about it. You know, there's a lot of ideas that are power chords like that. There's an old song, it goes like that, where it's just a couple notes and then the power chord on the first fret to the open power chord E, which rather than playing it like that, the artist played it with the middle finger on the second fret of the A string and the open E string. You had just hanging out. So that gave you a really efficient move, you know. But something to explore, you know, later on. I would come up with different combinations, different shapes, and play them. And a lot of the shapes you're going to come up with messing around are actually tunes, you know. Like that was when I was messing around with the shape, and that Jesse's Girl or whatever popped into my head, and that's what that is, you know. It's actually also a part of like Summer of '69. The same chords, you know, for the most part. And it's real simple, and they get you moving up and down the neck. And when you go to play bar chords down the road, we're going to do these big guys like this, where you play all 6 strings. You've already got the basic kind of thing going with the first and third finger. You add the pinky, then you flat down your first finger, and you add a middle finger. You get a major. If you take your middle finger out of it and keep your first finger flat, you get a minor. All right. So that's a real simple trick that power chords helped with. I learned a lot of power chord based songs early on. You know, a fan of heavy metal and stuff. You know, like I was. It made a ton of sense. But I found that If you're lost and you don't know what key you're playing in, but you know what the basic chords are, if you play a power chord, you're going to be safe, you know, because the power chord is ambiguous. Say the chord calls for A major, play an A power chord. It could be A major or A minor, it wouldn't matter because you're not playing something that commits you to either chord, right? But they're also very great exercises to get you up and running on learning your first few tunes, you know. Um, there's a lot of them we can cover. And I'd like to continue to along this line here over the next few weeks and show you some more stuff that's based on power chords. We'll break down some of the riff ideas that I talked about and whatnot, and I'll show you some other things that are a lot of fun to play that involve common power chords, okay? So get working on those basic shapes and get comfortable with them. Throw a like on it, on the video if you would like. And actually, please just throw a like on the video. I would really appreciate it. It'd be great. Subscribe to the channel and feel free to comment. I usually answer as fast as I can. And I love being interactive with people about playing guitar and stuff. You can check our shop out at brgmusic.com. We have a lot of cool guitars here. We're in Perry, Iowa. Small town, kind of out of the way, but still very much a part of everything and liking to have a lot of fun with all the stuff that we do here. All right, thanks for watching and enjoy. Have a good night.